The United States has launched new strikes on Iran despite claiming progress in peace talks. Its military says the strikes targeted missile launch sites in the south of the country. In the last hour, Iran's foreign ministry has released a statement saying it will leave no act of aggression unanswered and will not hesitate in the slightest to defend Iran's sovereignty. So we're joined now by Michael Clarke, our military analyst. Michael, I was speaking to you yesterday, and this just keeps rumbling on with new things, and none of them seem to be heading towards peace. So US military have taken out these carried out these strikes. Can you just give us more detail of what happened and whether this is a blip on a potential road to a peace deal?
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I think it looks more than a blip. It might have looked like a blip a few hours ago. It's looking more serious now. I mean, according to CENTCOM, Central Command, I mean, they issue the statements, they give the commands. So they said they conducted strikes at 3 places, or mainly on the coast. But Bandar Abbas, which is the main port opposite the Strait of Hormuz, that's the big port that the Iranians use. But also there are explosions reported at Sirik and at Jask down the coast. And what the Americans say is that they attacked rocket sites and missile launching sites, which might have been anti-aircraft missiles. I mean, maybe they were turning on their radars. And if you turn on a radar when there's an American aircraft around, doing surveillance jobs, that's a hostile act. So maybe, I mean, I'm guessing maybe they did that. But the Americans attacked those sites, and they also said they attacked a couple of boats that are in the straits laying mines. Now, those can be interpreted as defensive acts, that's fine, but it's a bit of a stretch. They didn't have to do it. They could have left it, they could have ignored it, they could have left it 24 or 48 hours or whatever. Clearly, it was intended as a signal to the Iranians to stop doing these things, to stop these preparations for a renewed offensive, and also to indicate, I think, that they weren't committed entirely to the diplomatic route. The Iranians got to realise that the military instrument is still there and they will use it. That's how it looked overnight when the Americans said that they'd done it. But now, in the last couple of hours, the Iranians have said this is a blatant violation. That was the phrase they used in English, a blatant violation of the ceasefire, and, of course, they will respond. So we'll see if they respond, I would suspect, in a calibrated way. But then the Americans may respond to that. So the ceasefire is certainly under a lot of pressure at this particular part of the whole front.
And that, the way you describe it, it's just textbook escalation, isn't it? Yeah. A small act gets to a bigger act and it gets worse, and then you find yourself...
And you slips away, yeah, that's the danger.
In a situation where there's war. And this comes at the same time that Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel is cracking down on more military action in Lebanon too. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the war within a war. The Iranians have always said that any peace deal must be based on a ceasefire in Lebanon. And Benjamin Netanyahu made a pretty big statement yesterday. I think we can take the statement in which he made it very clear that this war would intensify from his point of view.
We will hit them. It's true they're shooting drones at us. We have a special team working on that, and we'll solve that too. In the meantime, you're showing resilience. I want to bless the residents of the North's resilience that inspires all of us. But what this requires of us now is to increase the blows, to increase the intensity. We'll smite them with overwhelming force.
Making it very clear there, he's under domestic pressure because his own government are saying, you know, this is not working in Lebanon. You've got to go deeper into Lebanon. Hezbollah are still attacking our troops, which they are with drones. They're attacking the IDF troops inside Lebanon with these drones the IDF can't do too much about at the moment. And they're sending rockets into the civilian areas of northern Israel. And that's what really creates the pressure, because when that happened after 2023, after the 7th of October attacks, 60,000 Israelis had to move out, and they didn't get back for nearly 2 years. They're not going to move them out again. And so the demand is, if our schools are closed today because of the danger of rocket attacks, what are you going to do about it? And so Netanyahu is under intense domestic pressure. But, of course, that pressure that he's under and ramping up the war in Lebanon makes it all the more difficult to attain a ceasefire in the overall situation between America and Iran.
Yeah, all the parts are linked. I mean, there are days when we hear Donald Trump saying, oh, a peace deal is imminent, and you feel like we're edging closer to something like a peace deal and an agreement. Yeah. And there are bad days when we sort of slip back. This feels like one of those.
Yeah, well, it's Monday, Tuesday. These are war days. Peace days are Thursday, Friday, and sometimes Saturday.
Why is that?
President Trump, he always, towards the weekend, he always makes these very peaceful statements because it affects the markets. Price of oil goes down, the markets stabilise. Then when
that's exactly how you see it.
It's a real pattern, almost every week. And then Monday, Tuesday are war days, when, because the peace thing is obviously very vague and people start to probe it a bit and they can't see anything behind it, so then he goes back to being aggressive. So, you know, Thursday, Friday are peace days, Monday, Tuesday are war days. He rests on a Sunday. Right? On Sunday, he rests, plays golf.
The way you're interpreting it, it really simplifies it.
I'm not the only person who says this. I mean, a lot of analysts, they've looked at it week after week after week.
Yeah.
End of the week, peace. Beginning of the week, war.
But it's worrying that there's someone with that sort of approach for something so important and have so many implications for all of us in terms of the Strait of Hormuz and our economy, and yet you're talking about a very simple pattern.
Gideon Rachman, in the Financial Times today, said the Americans are trying to, as it were, strengthen a losing hand, not very effectively. They've got a losing hand, and they're trying to strengthen it. And they're trying to strengthen it rhetorically and by things that happened overnight in the Strait of Hormuz. But ultimately, they have a losing hand. And I think a lot of analysts have decided that that is the reality of it. President Trump is trying to dress up the fact that for all the military dominance he's got, politically, he's losing.
So if you were to give a mark out of 10 for Donald Trump and then the Iranian negotiators, you know, it sounds like you're going to give Donald Trump a low mark. And the Iranians, are they doing well?
Totally. I mean, the Iranians are tough, experienced negotiators. They can spin this out for a very long time, and they've got the Americans in the position now where they're saying, well, we'll talk about opening the Strait of Hormuz over 60 days, thank you very much, and as a result of that, and then we'll talk about our nuclear program, which is what they were doing before the 28th of February when the attacks began. And so what they're agreeing to is to go back to the situation before the war started. And people in America, even in the Republican base, are saying, you know, Mr. President, what was this war all about? If these are the terms of a deal, that we go back to where we were before you attacked, why did we attack in the first place? And Trump gets very angry about that, of course.
And the Iranians can play the long game.
And the Iranians, they're very good at playing the long game. I mean, the deal of 2015, you know, the deal that Obama had, that Trump attacked, I mean, that was agreed in principle in 2013. And they celebrated in 2013 that they had a deal. And it took 2 years of really hard, tough negotiating to pin it down to a deal which then stuck. And it was sticking pretty well until 2018 when the United States left it and wrecked the deal. And we are where we are now since. If we could go back to where we were in 2015, everybody would feel a great deal better.
Michael, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much.